Nicholas Davis, the World Economic Forum is launching today the Bahrain in the World scenarios. What are the major scenarios for Bahrain?
Well, as with our other GCC work, we look at three major scenarios. We're looking at a scenario called Oasis, one called Sandstorm, and one called the Fertile Gulf. But in this case, there are a number of key risks that the scenarios throw up through our workshops and through the publication process itself. These are, firstly, the risk of economic and social disruption that could occur in the event of further regional instability, and that's something that I know that both investors and local people are relatively concerned with. The second risk factor is, of course, that of increasing competition from the other emirates in the region and from Saudi Arabia as well, in terms of the foreign investment flows that have traditionally gone very well to Bahrain, being a small kingdom. And thirdly, there is a demographic challenge that Bahrain faces. Even though it is a relatively small country in the region, it faces rather high birth rates and a very fast-growing labour force. It must find jobs for the people that are coming into the labour force now. And so that's something that the Bahrainis are really focusing on significantly at the moment.
How is the country exposed to dramatic regional events?
Well, Bahrain is a very strategically located country. It's a small archipelago in the Gulf. It's close to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and of course it's just across the Gulf from Iran. And it has a very complex social makeup as well inside Bahrain. What this means is that from the scenario work, were there to be, say, for instance, an attack or a conflict between the US and Iran, Bahrain would be relatively exposed in the arena I think from both sides, especially given the fact that it is such a strong ally of the United States. Now, what this could mean it could mean capital flight from the country, or at least a halt in FDI inflows, and it also could mean some social disruption, which would, I think, displease many in the region and displease many in the country, because it has been growing so well recently.
How important is the current reform program in Bahrain?
The current reform program is probably one of the most important policy moves that the Bahraini government has made over the last 10 years. Despite a few hiccups in its reform processes recently, it has really led the way as a regional leader in terms of both defining and implementing a series of very ambitious reforms. And these cover a lot of areas, from the move to commit to a maturing parliament and parliamentary process and democratic process in the region that really is the flagship for democratic reform, but also in terms of its economic reforms and its now attempts to reform labour markets. So given the challenges that face the country, and given the motivation that the country has to do well and ensure its competitiveness, we're talking here about a small country with relatively low oil reserves compared to the rest of the region. Given that motivation, this current reform process is critical to the future of the country, and certainly we hope that the reforms progress smoothly and succeed.